I now give the floor to Ms. Natalia Gherman.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. I'm honored to address the Security Council on the 21st report of the Secretary General on the threat posed by Daesh and the United Nations efforts to support member states in addressing the threat. I wish to thank the United Nations Office for Counter-Terrorism, headed by Under-Secretary General Vladimir Voronkov, the Analytical Support and Sanctions Monitoring Team, led by Mr. Colin Smith, and all our United Nations partners for their contributions to the report and close collaboration with CETAT. And I also wish to warmly welcome the presence of the President of the Financial Action Task Force, Ms. Elisa de Anda Madrazo, and thank her for the strong partnership, in particular in the context of the recently published FATF Comprehensive Update on Terrorist Financing Risks, with France and CETAT as co-leads. The report attests to a coordinated approach between CETAT, relevant United Nations entities, and FATF in analyzing evolving terrorist financing risks and trends, and aims to support member states and all other stakeholders in understanding and addressing them. Mr. President, despite sustained international efforts, Daesh remains a persistent threat to international peace and security. Its ability to adapt and exploit instability continues to pose significant challenges, and in particular in parts of Africa. The continent bears over half of the world's fatalities from terrorist attacks. In the Syrian Arab Republic, Daesh seeks to leverage the volatile security landscape. The humanitarian and human rights situation in northeastern camps remains dire, where tens of thousands of individuals, the vast majority of whom are women and children, face extreme insecurity. Daesh Khorasan remains a significant threat in Afghanistan and also in Europe and in Central Asia, where it actively seeks to recruit and fundraise, relying on propaganda tactics and online campaigns. Daesh utilizes regional and domestic affiliates and receives substantial global donations using regional hubs and cross-border financial networks. Their financing methods mix digital innovations with traditional channels, making it harder to detect and suppress financial flows that support terrorism. Mr. President, in response, the United Nations has continued its efforts to support member states in addressing the threat posed by Daesh. On behalf of the Counter-Terrorism Committee, this year, CETAT has conducted assessment visits to Cameroon, Chad, Hungary, Malta, Norway, and Somalia, identifying technical assistance needs and providing tailored recommendations to enhance implementation of relevant Security Council resolutions. In Europe, the visits demonstrated the persistent need for vigilance as the terrorist threat keeps developing with the sophisticated means to which terrorists are resorting. In Africa, the assessments focused on the evolving Daesh threat, as well as member states' capacities to respond. As of early 2025, Daesh Somalia has been playing an increasingly prominent role as a logistical hub for Daesh globally, though in recent months, Somalia and its international partners have successfully degraded some capacities of Daesh within Somalia. Funded by the United Nations Peace and Development Trust Fund and in line with the Security Council Resolution 2713, CETAT, together with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and UNOCT, is providing support to Somalia and the region in countering Al-Shabaab's use of technology, to raise funds and recruit new members. In the Lake Chad Basin region, Daesh is increasingly receiving foreign material and human support to conduct its operations, including money, drones, and expertise on improvised explosive devices. In the visits to Chad and Cameroon, we focused also on the return of former Boko Haram and ISWAP associates and their families, and the support needed to ensure accountability and sustainable rehabilitation and reintegration into the communities. In Cameroon, the delegation traveled to the far north region, the area most affected by terrorism, which is increasingly exacerbated by organized crime. In Chad, we discussed with the authorities their military engagement at the national and sub-regional levels through the Lake Chad Basin Multinational Joint Task Force, as well as advancing criminal justice frameworks and countering violent extremism leading to terrorism. Engagement with affected states in Africa and beyond has also been deepened through the European Union United Nations Global Terrorism Threats Facility, which supported legislative reform, capacity building, and cross-regional dialogues on prosecution, rehabilitation, and reintegration. Based on needs identified by CTED on behalf of the Counter-Terrorism Committee, the facility, which is implemented by UNOCT, provided support to Iraq, Kenya, Kyrgyzstan, Malawi, Maldives, Nigeria, Somalia, Tajikistan, and Uganda at their request. In response to the terrorism situation in West Africa, United Nations agencies have focused on regional capacity development in countering the financing of terrorism. During the assessment visit to Côte d'Ivoire in November 2024, CTED commended the establishment of the Operational Coordination Committee, bringing together the Financial Intelligence Unit, investigating services, and judicial authorities. And as a result, Côte d'Ivoire delivered its first terrorism financing convictions, having benefited also from capacity building support from UNODC. Mr. President, Daesh's use of artificial intelligence and social media for recruitment, fundraising, and propaganda demands innovative responses. And although artificial intelligence is being harnessed to amplify the group's reach and impact, it also holds significant potential for states to enhance the detection, prevention, and disruption of terrorist activities. To counter the threat posed by new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes, CTED supports member states in the implementation of the non-binding guiding principles on terrorists' use of unmanned aircraft systems and emerging financial technologies. As we stand at the crossroads of technological transformation and geopolitical uncertainty, the threat of terrorism is more diffuse and complex. CTED is committed to work with member states to navigate those challenges in our common pursuit of a world free from terrorism. I thank you.
Agradezco a la señora.
I'd like to thank Ms. Gherman for her briefing. I'm pleased now to give the floor to Ms. Elise de Anda Madrazo.